Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to Screen Preach. Come here, duh. Come here. People like when you're in the episode. Come on. Episode 30. Episode 30. Yeah, 3-0 now. 3-0. Oh. What's up? Stinky breath. Episode 30 of Screen Preach. And this week I had to pick something to watch, and I picked something to watch. I will talk about it in a second. What's going on? How we doing? Just trying to survive out here. You know, Los Angeles is very fucked right now. But just if you can power through, I feel like this is my thinking. It's like if I can power through this, if I can get through this, I can get through a lot of other bullshit. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm finding ways to maintain. So that's good. At least I'm not totally fucked right now. Let's see. I wish there was better news about openings and whatnot, but there's not. When I go to the beach, I go to the beach again, I go to the beach now, and it seems like that's kind of open a little bit. But then it doesn't make sense to me why other shit isn't. If that is, I don't know. I guess because it's outdoors, it totally makes a difference. I don't know. But, yeah, before I get into anything, I'm gonna follow up on something from last week because it's interesting to talk about. I figured why not? So I will follow up on this. I have a theory about we live in a Marvel age. We live in a big blockbuster age, and if you got quality blockbusters like Marvel that are more than blockbusters, they're genuine, like great artistry and whatnot. The quality is top notch and shit. The hype is unreal, especially when you've been following it since the beginning. Past 12 years, we've been experiencing Marvel, and I just want to approach this whole thing we got going on with the multiverse and stuff because it's happening in both Marvel and DC, and it seems to be like the whole. I just want you to be ready for some crazy shit. Is my point. Like, they're both taking this approach, this multiverse approach, and I actually think it'll bring a freshness. I mean, we have to break it up. I actually think so. I've said it before, but COVID's great. We need a break, right? We won't suffer from. We won't have any superhero fatigue. I think because of this break, the fact that we get this break means we'll want it more when it comes back, and that's good. No fatigue, but I also think that their approach going forward will add an energy of nostalgia, and it will help broaden the audience even more than it already. They already have a huge audience, but it'll help even more. Like, how do I put this? Anybody who grew up watching Michael Keaton's Batman will now possibly get to see Michael Keaton's Batman again. Do you understand? Like, so now it'll feel fresh. It'll feel like there'll be a reinvigorated thing here, and like me and my generation we grew up on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and it's never been more possible than right now that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man will show up again because of the multiverse, because of this approach that superhero movies seem to be taking. Again, there's no confirmation. Don't believe anything you hear right now. Listen to me. Follow Screen Preach. I put fact up. I know when it's still things can come out that are not true, which I'll get into in a second. Some news broke. But don't listen to the bullshit. And for the people doing it, fucking stop. All right? You're just trying to get, like, fucking likes and attention. There's no confirmation, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Right? So there's still no confirmation of it, that they're going to be in the next Spider-Man with Tom Holland, multiverse, Spider-Verse shit. There's no confirmation yet. Okay? So don't be fooled. Also, if they're smart, they won't confirm that. That's the best possible cameo for that movie you can think of. Don't tell us. I don't want to know. Okay? I want it to just happen when I'm sitting in the theater. Yes, it will be a theater. I'll get into that too. Some news there. But yeah, it's a great time. It's going to be great when superhero movies come back. Really great. Um, what have what's everybody been watching? I don't know about so this that show Hellstrom finally that came out. Marvel has a wing. They have a wing again in on Hulu now. It's not Netflix anymore. They have Hulu. It's doing some Marvel properties. I don't know why they were even bothering with separating everything. Let's enough of this shit. Like everything Marvel, if it's Marvel, it should be under Marvel. I don't understand this shit. But I told you guys to check it out. I haven't yet, but the reviews have not been good, so maybe it's not even worth it. But that's out, so you can watch it now. It's on Hulu. It's called Hellstrom. There's no connections to the MCU. It's its own thing. Uh, and that's going to hurt properties. It's just going to continue to, over time, nobody wants to see anything Marvel that's not also Marvel. We don't need two Marvels. There's one Marvel. Yeah, whatever. That's what came out. I'm still watching Archer. There's nothing really new. I don't know. There's not really anything. Right? There might have been something. One other thing. No, I guess not. So I guess let's get into our news of the week. This week, some interesting stuff going on. Some stuff that pisses me off too, but we'll talk about it in a second. All right, so right off the bat here, I want to get into what I was talking about. Sometimes things come out, and usually when it comes out on the big name journalists, you know, coverage people like Variety, Deadline, whatever if it comes out on there, it's very confirmed. It's very usually pretty solid information. That's when it's confirmed. That's when I put it up, because I'm not going to put up bullshit. I put up the true shit, like what's actually going on. So it was confirmed that Tatiana Maslany was cast as She-Hulk in the MCU. But now the actress said that was bullshit. She's denying that she's been cast. So we actually still might not have our Jennifer Walters yet, our MCU Jennifer Walters. She has not been cast yet, it appears. But at the same time, don't be fooled. Sometimes the actors, they like to play these games. This is Marvel. They do this shit all the time. She could be just playing with us a little bit. Trying to just stoke the fire. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure in the coming weeks now, we'll get a real confirmation in either direction there, whether she's actually in it or not in it at all. We'll get a confirmation on that. But that sucks to hear that. You don't want to hear that. I like that casting, too. We'll see what happens with that. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned the Static Shock movie that DC has officially in development. DC's doing Static Shock. Michael B. Jordan just joined as a producer of the movie, so he'll be helping to produce Static Shock. Interesting, good shit. Michael B. Jordan is huge. He's becoming quite the activist in cinema. He's going to be huge for black voices going forward. So it makes sense that this film would have him attached to it. I'm not surprised that he would want to join this project. I remember Static Shock a little bit growing up. It rings some bells. I don't recall watching the cartoon too much, but that's what I remember, was that it was a cartoon, I think, at one point or another. Some other big thing happened here. Fans of Dexter, the show Dexter from Showtime, Michael C. Hall, the serial killer who kills bad guys, right? We all struggled with that ending too when it ended, because it wasn't quite what we wanted. But now there is a Dexter revival in the works at Showtime with Michael C. Hall coming back as Dexter Morgan. Interesting stuff. Could it be to give us a proper ending? Or, I don't know. One of the producers, I think, he shed some light on it too. He said that it won't undo anything, but it will make things right. So what does that mean? When I hear that, it means they're going to try to fix what they fucked up. You know, they're going to try to give us a better ending, probably, in some way. Then again, I don't exactly know the parameters of this show, you know, this revival. Is it one season? Is it more than one season? What do we got here? So that's interesting. I was a big fan of that show, and I will definitely watch this when it comes out. I won't spoil things for people who still haven't gotten around to seeing it, because it's worth just seeing. I always say season 4 was the best season. After that, it's not quite as, good, but you can still watch it and get through it, and it's still enjoyable. It's just that last season was a clusterfuck. Actually just rewatched that recently, like last year, like for the second time through. So I've seen it twice through. It's still a good show. What else happened in the news this week? We got there's someone spotted this recently. Someone was watching Pulp Fiction again, and they actually spotted Quentin Tarantino in the famous dance scene between Travolta and Uma Thurman. He's actually he's in a frame of that scene that nobody ever caught before. It's fun when you can find stuff nobody ever caught before. It turns out Tarantino's in that scene for a moment. Didn't know that. I have to look for it too. I have to check that out. When I was rewatching Scorsese, all his movies, he always pops up. And I noticed him. I didn't realize before that in Mean Streets, he's the guy who shoots Johnny Boy. I did not realize that before. I don't know why I didn't. That's clearly him. That's clearly Scorsese. But it's fun when you can find him and catch him. I think he shows up twice or 3 times in Taxi Driver, like as different little like quick shots. And he has a full dialogue scene in Taxi Driver, but he pops up in little frames too. It's always fun when the directors do that shit, if you can catch it. Then we have the big thing I was like kind of like, annoyed with. And for people who don't understand why I would be annoyed with this, just try to think about what I've been saying all the time on this show. Disney's trying to make a big streaming move. This came out, there's this news here that they're trying to reorganize all of their properties to streaming and to Disney Plus. And immediately people were saying, oh my god, what does this mean? Does it mean all of Marvel movies and Star Wars movies? Are they going to just go right to Disney Plus and not be in theaters anymore? Please, God, don't let that happen. Okay? And then one of the investors, a new investor in Disney, urged the studio to release Black Widow on Disney Plus. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. And anyone else who thinks it's a good idea. It's not that it's not cool. It's not that it's not fun to just have it right away. You're in your home. That's great, I guess. The problem is dude, do we want to just get rid of the theater experience? Why? There's nothing like it. You can't replicate it unless you have a shit ton of money and can build a theater in your home or something. The rest of us have just regular TV sets and computers and just not the right lighting and all the bullshit distractions. When you go into a theater, they tell you to shut your phone or to at least vibrate it. You're supposed to go in with no there's no experience like the theater experience. Please, God, don't ruin it for everybody who understands that experience needs to be savored and that experience needs to exist. I need theaters to come back. We all do. And let me tell you, right now, if you're one of these people who can sit at home on their computer and watch everything on their computer and not give a fuck, yeah, you might be like right now, I don't care. Fuck the theaters. You're going to miss it. Even you motherfucker. I know, I'm getting mad about this, but I hate that people don't fucking fathom this. Even you will miss the theaters down the road. If we didn't have theaters for 5 years, if we didn't have theaters for 3 years, you'd start to miss it. You would. I believe that. Let's not fuck with that, please. the Marvel movies and the Star Wars films in general too, specifically, uh, they need to be experienced in a theater first. You have to have that. I can't, especially the way crowds react to things. Think about watching Endgame not in a theater. It's not the same, dude. It's not the same. Let's not fucking ruin that experience. Let's not get rid of it. I pray things get better, and I pray sooner rather than later. Of course, immediately there were ramblings and talk. Mandalorian, the actor who plays Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal, and the creator of the show, Jon Favreau, they're hyping us up a little bit, talking about a potential Mandalorian movie. That's different. We got introduced to the character of the Mandalorian on TV. So if they just decided to make a movie and drop it on Disney Plus, it's totally different, totally fine, totally down for that too. They're talking about it. It's a possibility. So, giving us a little hype there, Favreau. Ridley Scott's going to do a Napoleon Bonaparte film. That'll be a good drama, I'm sure. They are looking at. It's looking like Joaquin Phoenix will play Napoleon Bonaparte. Ridley Scott's legendary director, and Joaquin Phoenix is legendary actor. That should be a good movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, and Timothy Chalamet are set to join Adam McKay's next film called Don't Look Up. Adam McKay is the guy who did The Big Short and Vice. He's a good director. He's been he did comedies for most of his career, his early career, and then he shifted over to like more dark comedies and dramas, and now he's got DiCaprio for his next film and Meryl fucking Streep. That's whatever this film is. It's probably going to be. That's just another good drama to look forward to. I like to let people know when stuff like that's happening. Mad Max prequel called Furiosa, about Charlize Theron's character Furiosa. The prequel film has cast some people in the film here. Looks like Anna Taylor-Joy will play a younger Furiosa, so they've recast the character for a younger version, and it's Anna Taylor-Joy to play Furiosa. They also cast Chris Hemsworth in the movie, Thor himself, who knows who he'll be playing. And they cast Yahya Abdul Mateen II. Don't know who he is, but I'm sure if I looked up his filmography, I would know some things he's in. He's in it as well. And that is our news of the week. So, some stuff and some stuff. I can't fucking... I'll go off all day about theaters, man, and why they need to exist. But, it's, let's just move on, right? Get into our film this week, our analysis of the week. And so, I'm trying to figure out what to watch, and there's always new stuff coming out on Netflix. Like next week, I'll talk about the new Aaron Sorkin movie, which came out yesterday, and I will get around to watching it this week, and I will talk about it next week. So if you don't want to be spoiled, obviously, and stuff, you need to watch it too. It's probably going to be up for the awards and everything. It's got great reviews. But this week, again, I need to pick something. I picked a Netflix film, and I picked The Devil All the Time. Heavy film, heavy drama that came out with unbelievable. The cast of this movie, it just doesn't end. It's stellar, and I'll get into why this film is at least good, because it's the performances, a lot of good, like a lot of deep moments, a lot of fucking brutal moments, there's some boring moments too, but it's a film. It's a film, like some of the lines alone, like some people were born just so they could be buried. People are like dogs. Once they start digging, they don't want to stop. Like there's some heavy shit in this movie. It's based on a book, so that's where a lot of dialogue comes from the book too. A lot of like heavy themes and messages come right from the book. So I can't 100% credit just the writers of the movie with that. It's the author of the book who plays an interesting role in the movie too, which I'll get into. Yeah, The Devil All the Time. It stars Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and he proves to us that he is one hell of an actor. It's got Sebastian Stan in it. It's got Robert Pattinson in it. It's got Bill Skarsgård in it. It's a really insane how many, quite the cast here. So right off the bat, writing structure, does the structure work? Does it work? Well, first let me just say I think that line in the movie, some people are born just so that they could be buried. I think that sums up the film, and I think that line really sums up the film, because the devil is everywhere and everybody we meet in this movie in some way, except of course our main character Arvin, played by Tom Holland. He's a victim and product of the devil's wrath on his environment and his upbringing. He's the main character we really care about, making it through this journey here. All these bad people have too much of the devil in them. Everybody else is in some way, shape, or form, like an agent of the devil in some way. And we build to a climax that's almost inevitable, and it's when Arvin breaks free of this evil and of the devil, and actually does it by shooting and killing a lot of this evil. And that was a great ending, by the way. That's what saved this movie in a lot of ways, was that ending. You can't help but root for Arvin when he's killing everybody at the end. The structure is what's lacking in this one, so I'll get into that. So like I said, does the structure work? Quick answer, I don't think so. It's a film that jumps around in ineffective ways sometimes. It ends up paying off in the end, but it's a slow build to get there, and I'm sure the film loses some of its audience because of it. So if you can get through it, you'll be satisfied, but if you can't, I understand why you can't. It's a slow build to get there. Basically, it comes down to the first act, which immediately told me that there was a structural problem. It's gruelingly expositional, that first act. It takes a long time to get to our actual main bulk of the film. It takes a long time to get to Arvin more grown up, where they spend a lot of time with him as a kid and his dad's story, which could have been done quicker. So that's where they kind of will lose people, because it takes too long to get to the main act of the story, the main bulk of it. They could have presented all the necessary story information in a more fluid way that would have given the pacing, would have done the pacing more justice. I'm good with letting movies play out. Others aren't, so I can keep going to see where it's taking me. I'll keep watching. It's hard for a movie to really lose me because I'm paying attention to everything. But I understand why it would lose other people. Because when I got to the end of this movie, I ended up really liking the movie. But when I got to the end, it was satisfying. It was so. What are the plot points? Because it's a longer movie than you would think it would be. Like, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It probably doesn't have to be. I like long movies, but they have to work too. The inciting action would have to be Arvin's birth, I guess. Him coming into this world of constant push and pull, good and evil. You see the pacing and structure are poor in this one right off the bat. It's hard to determine where the key plot points are sometimes because the pace is so long. The plot points are spread out by long sequences of things that you're not sure should be in it. There were probably some unnecessary scenes that could have been cut. So when they decided to stay with Willard, right, Arvin's father, for a long time, I knew that the I knew that there was a pace problem. That's why we don't really get a true start of the film until Arvin's grown up, and that's like 45 minutes into the movie, you know? We don't get out of the first act until 45 minutes in. The reversal is when they get that new preacher, right? Played by Robert Pattinson, because that's where he comes to town and there's like there's an unraveling from there. It's a reversal because it's just everything kind of spirals downhill from there. It sets everything else in motion. He's a piece of shit. He's taking advantage of girls, and he causes literally the suicide of Arvin's stepsister, Lenora. And that moment of her committing suicide and him finding her in the barn was fucking powerful shit. That was the down and out moment of the movie. So the end of Act 2. And then the third act, we kind of get like a sparking point, a reaffirmation that sparks this bloody third act we get. And it's when Arvin kills the preacher, right? That decision sparks the rest of the third act, which is a bloody road all the way till he finally breaks free of it at the end there. So the climax is him literally killing all this evil. And the closing image with the voiceover was actually really great. It was a great ending. But like I said, it takes a long time to get there. And it goes in a lot of different directions. It goes down a lot of different roads before getting to each plot point. Overall, my opinion of the story is, well, let's be clear. It's powerful. There's powerful themes and messages. They are kind of thrown at you in a lot of different ways that perhaps they don't have to. They could be a little more straightforward with it sometimes. But you still feel for Arvin. You still care about him. He's a good main character to care about, and you follow him all the way through. He keeps the story somewhat strong. You can see that he was abandoned by God. He's held by a string the devil is holding, from the earliest tragedies in his life to the ones that define him in the end. He has to take control of his life and break free of this evil that he's constantly surrounded by. You can understand why he feels abandoned by God. That's why he had to go back home and face the demons of his past and make peace with them. That's why it's the perfect title, too. The title is perfect. The devil all the time. The devil is all he knows all the time. From the time he's a kid to the time he's a young adult. It's just all kind of tragic shit going on. Nonstop. Yeah. Most importantly, I really liked the movie. It was losing me a little bit halfway through, but knowing how it ends and knowing that there are things I missed thematically and even visually, I would watch it again. I would check this movie out as well if you haven't seen it yet. It's on Netflix. Go check it out. The Devil All the Time. Direction mention. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think I missed some stuff. In terms of shots, visual moments, whatever. There were great cuts. That's what I noticed more. Like, the editing in this movie was really good. There were a lot of great cuts and techniques the editor used to make some pretty compelling moments even more compelling. But the performances. So in terms of performances, that's why this movie worked. Every single actor did an amazing job, in my opinion. Even the small roles. Tom Holland, though, he proved to me and to others that, that he's just one hell of an actor. Like, when you watch him, you can't think, it's hard to not think of Peter Parker, but then he embodies the role, and he's great. And thank you, Marvel, for making him our Peter Parker, because he is the best Peter Parker. But you see why it's better when Marvel casts no-name actors? I'll keep saying it. It's better when they do. They not only create stars, but they find talent. This kid is great. He was brilliant in this movie, and because he's playing such a different role than like fucking Peter Parker, it made me see even more how great he is as an actor. Even still, there's some similarities with Peter Parker. There's like a youthful energy and an innocence to the characters that he plays right now in his career. That's why it'll be interesting to see as his career progresses what other kind of roles he'll take on. I'm just curious to see what. He's got Cherry coming out. Russo brothers, who directed Endgame and Infinity War and all that shit. They're doing a movie called Cherry, and Tom Holland's in it. He's also doing the Uncharted movies. or at least movie. I don't know if they're doing more than one, but everybody was great. Robert Pattinson, Sebastian Stan, Jason Clarke. Jason Clarke's role was fucked up. Bill Skarsgård, they all impressed. That's the best thing about this movie, is the acting and the performances. Two things worth noting that are interesting about this movie. One, the guy who wrote the novel is also the guy who's narrating the movie. So he got to play a direct role in the movie adaptation of his book. I think that's great. Imagine seeing that more often with book adaptations, if the author got to narrate the movie. That's cool. I liked that. And also a little trivia for you about this movie. The actor who played the preacher in the beginning, I forget his name at the moment, but the preacher in the beginning, that fucking crazy wacko, he actually poured real-life spiders on his head in that scene. No shit. So yeah, the actors went above and beyond in this movie. And that's why their performances saved the movie. And that's why it ended up being still a good movie. I enjoyed it. So yeah, my overall rating of this movie is 8.3 out of 10. It's good. It's not great, but it's good. And that's The Devil All the Time. Fun fact of the week. So, did you know that in the Shawshank Redemption, in the scene where Andy goes to meet Brooks in the library to start working for him, the crow, Jake, squawks before Andy gets to him, right? Tim Robbins, who played Andy, had to time his line, "Hey Jake, where's Brooks?" He had to time it perfectly so that the bird wouldn't squawk over him. Talking. The bird could not be trained to squawk on cue. So, yes, Robbins had to actually study the bird's squawking patterns in order to time it right, which is just another great... That's one of the best movies ever made. If you watch the scene, too, you can see him watching the bird closely as he approaches, waiting for it to squawk, not beginning his line until after it does. Interesting stuff about Shawshank Redemption there. Our question of the week this week. First, let's follow up on last week. Last week, I asked who the best Western director was. A nice little easy one for those who actually follow fucking movies. I said Sergio Leone was the best, and apparently so did everyone else. I can't say his name today. Fuck. Sergio Leone was number one in the polls. And what's interesting, though, is that Tarantino was number two. And it's a testament to the kind of director he is. He did 2 Westerns, that's it, in his career. And if you watch those movies, you can tell that he's pulling directly from Leone, too. He's pulling from Sergio Leone's films, even with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Django, Hateful Eight have spaghetti Western undertones, which was Leone's trademark with the Man with No Name trilogy. And even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the title is an homage, whatever. Oh, I say homage. Homage to Leone, who did 2 films with that title. He did Once Upon a Time in the West and Once Upon a Time in America. Tarantino did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He did those 3 films. Immediately, people think he's the second best Western director, and those films are amazing. He was even above Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was number 3 on the list, and he's done a shit ton of Westerns. And then number 4 was John Ford, who did all the old classic Westerns, a lot with John Wayne. So yeah, that was last week. This week's question is really interesting. It's a tough one, too, because I'm going to take a turn to TV. I pulled this one directly from IMDb, and it's going based off of their ratings of things, because... Alright, so the question this week is, what is the perfect TV episode of all time? What's the actually greatest, and we're sticking with drama here, what's the greatest TV episode of all time, right? And it's going based off the 9.9 rating episodes on IMDb. I'm going to pick the Battle of the Bastards from Game of Thrones, because it is the perfect fucking episode that I've ever seen on TV. It really is. But I'm also interested what other people might think, because there's a lot. Even fucking Star Wars, The Clone Wars, the animated series, the last season of that, dude, the last 2 episodes of that fucking show are perfect. They have 9.9 ratings. So what is your opinion? I'll get into, I'll see what everyone else thought next week when we come back to that. Let's do our movie quote of the week this week. This is an intense scene in a drama. Let's see if you know what it's from. How I feel. How I feel. You sit there with a mass murderer. A mass murderer. Your heart rate is jacked. Your hand, steady. That's the one thing I figured out about myself in prison. My hand does not shake. Ever. What do you expect coming here? I have to come here. I know you have to come here. But now that you're here, what do you want? You want the truth? Valium. You know, if you lied, you'd have a better chance of getting what you wanted. What does that say about what you do for a living? Look. I'm having panic attacks, all right? The other day, I thought I was having a fucking heart attack. I puked in a trash barrel on the way over here. I haven't slept for fucking weeks. Yeah, it's true. I said something fucking true. I want some fucking pills, and you're gonna what? You're gonna close my file? I thought I was supposed to tell the truth here, if only fucking here. A guy comes in here against every instinct of privacy, of self-reliance that he has, and what do? Huh? What do? You send him out on the street to score smack? Is that what you do? You're fucking ridiculous. 2 pills? Great. Why don't you just get me a bottle of scotch and a handgun to blow my fucking head off? Are we done here with this psychiatry bullshit? What the fuck did I just put myself through? I'm fucking out of here. And what if that was a legitimate threat? Huh? Think about it. Fucking hotshot. Nailed it. Definitely nailed that. Name that movie. Tell me what it's from. It's a fucking classic. It's fucking great. Tell me what it's from. And that's our episode. Real quick, this week on Caught My Attention. I'm going to go into a little video game thing that I saw. A 7-minute gameplay video for the new Assassin's Creed came out. If you are as hyped about that game as I am, go check it out. Assassin's Creed is my favorite game franchise. It's the one game I always come back to every time it comes out. I even wrote a TV series based on Assassin's Creed. The new game comes out on November 10th. Go check out the gameplay video. It makes you a little hyped, even though we're very close to it. Relax, dog. This dog is so nervous about everything all the time. It's okay. We are your hosts, Ben Morganti, Donut. Follow the show at Screen Preach. Follow me personally at the Ben Morganti. Check out my website at benmorgantistory.com. Subscribe to BMS Studios on YouTube. Check out my brother's channel, J&J Customs, on YouTube. And if you want to support the show for real, become a patron at Patreon. Besides that, that is it. Have a cinematic week, everybody.